It's a real story. The beast within the pines. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a golden hue over the dense pines that surround it. Cedar Ridge Campground. The air was cooler now, the crispness of autumn beginning to settle in, and the clearing was saturated with the earthy scent of damp leaves. For Mark and his 13-year-old son, Jason, this was the perfect time for a camping trip, a chance to escape the buzz of technology and reconnect with nature like they used to before life got too fast and crowded. Mark had always been an enthusiast of the great outdoors, sharing stories of his youth spent in the wild with Jason. This trip would serve as another chapter in their father-son bonding, full of fishing, hiking, and telling ghost stories around the fire. All seemed serene and picturesque until they arrived. As they set up their tent, dark clouds gathered overhead, threatening rain. Just a little drizzle. Mark assured Jason, "This won't stop us." But that night, as they sat around the crackling campfire, flashes of lightning danced perilously. In the distance, the woods seemed alive, each rustle of leaves or crack of twigs setting Jason's heart racing. "Dad, do you think we should have picked a different spot?" he asked, glancing warily toward the darkened trees. "Just a storm, buddy. You're too used to those city sounds. This is what real camping is like." Mark replied with a chuckle, though even he felt the weight of the shadowy pines standing guard around them. The atmosphere was thick. It felt different. That night, heavy rain fell, the rhythmic patter against the tent soothing yet unsettling. It was then that they heard it, a low, mournful howl that sent chills racing down Jason's spine. He sat up straight, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Mark nodded, tightening the sleeping bag around him. "Just a coyote. They're known for their haunting calls." But Jason wasn't convinced. It sounded too deep, too human. He turned to the fabric walls of the tent, half expecting something to burst through. The howl echoed through the night, punctuated by rustling outside. "Maybe we should have stayed home," Jason whispered, unable to shake the feeling that they were being watched. The following day was a constant cycle of unease. Jason couldn't focus on fishing or hiking. Instead, his mind was drawn repeatedly to the claw marks he'd seen on the trees and the enormous paw prints near the creek, larger than any bear prints he had ever seen. On their third night, Jason, unable to sleep, sneaked out of the tent with a flashlight. The moon cast an ethereal glow, illuminating the forest path. As he crept to the edge of the tree line and peered into the depths of the woods, he heard it again, a series of howls, closer this time. The sound sent goosebumps up his arms. Rooted to the ground, he couldn't move, but as he turned to run back to the safety of the tent, he saw something in the shadows, two glowing yellow eyes, staring back at him. "Dad!" he screamed, tearing back toward the tent, adrenaline coursing through him. He stumbled, hitting the ground, but pushed himself up as fear propelled him forward. He crashed into the tent, gasping, waking Mark. "There's something out there." Mark surged upright, scanning their surroundings. "What did you see?" "A wolf." "No, it walked like a man. You have to believe me." Jason was breathless, collapsing into his father's arms. Mark's protective instincts kicked in. He grabbed the flashlight, igniting the darkness. "Stay close," he urged. But deep inside, doubts began to worm their way into his mind. As they emerged from the tent, ready to confront whatever stalked the woods, they were met only by silence, thick and heavy. The cold seeped through the air, an omen of something sinister. Mark shone the light in all directions, revealing nothing. "Just shadows," he muttered, though his heart raced with panic mounted by uncertainty. But something in the distance caught his eye, a large shadow darting between the trees. He felt preyed upon, as if the forest itself was taunting them. With the return of dawn, the woods felt less threatening, though Jason's mind swirled with anxiety. The idea of returning home filled him with relief, but Mark insisted on staying, not wanting fear to dictate their adventure. They explored more during the day, walking along the creek bed, where Mark occasionally recounted eerie legends, whispers around campfires. "You know," They're tales of werewolves, Mark said casually one evening as they sat up there. Campfire to cook dinner. Werewolves? Jason asked, trying to conceal the shivers climbing up his spine. Do you really believe that stuff? Just stories, son. Old wives' tales to frighten children, Mark declared, though every howl at night chipped away at Mark's conviction. As night fell again, the cloak of darkness enveloped them, replete with chilling quietness. The absence of wildlife sent Jason's unease spiraling. That night, the howls returned, a desperate, haunting echo that seemed to ripple through their very souls. Dad, we have to leave, Jason murmured, feeling the air thicken around him. Hush, we're fine, Mark replied, though agitation edged his voice. He reached for the kindling, obviously trying to distract himself, but Jason couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. When Jason finally fell into a restless sleep, he found himself jolted awake by a sudden rustling noise outside. Something was moving. He turned to his father, who had fallen asleep as well. Jason panicked and reached for the flashlight, determined to look outside, but Mark shot up just as quickly. What was that? Mark whispered, his voice heavy with concern. I don't know. Let's go check, Jason suggested. Stay inside, Mark hissed, moving with caution toward the entrance of the tent. They shared a tense silence, and when the howls broke the stillness again, Mark reacted instinctively. No, get ready, he yelled, striding toward the entrance, grip tightening around his flashlight, prepared for whatever might slam through the flaps. Suddenly, the tension snipped the atmosphere, and just as Jason prepared for the worst, the shadow of a creature slinked by the tent, too large to be a mere animal. It prowled dangerously, close, baring its teeth in the dim light. Get back, Mark commanded, lunging forward, sword-like gleam of the flashlight blinding them momentarily. The howls returned, deep and reverberating against their ears as they learned the shadows were more than a figment of their fears. Then the prowling figure stepped forward, a massive creature that resembled a wolf yet moved like a man, muscles rippling under its dark fur. But there was something human behind its ghastly expression, eyes filled with intelligence mixed with primal rage. Run, Jason, Mark shouted, grabbing his son and shoving him toward the back of the tent. They burst out the back, scrambling into the underbrush as Jason's heart raced. Branches snagged at their clothes as they sprinted into the woods. The shadows pursued them relentlessly, growls growing louder behind. Keep going, Mark yelled, leading Jason deeper between the trees. But as they struggled for freedom, Jason lost his footing, collapsing onto the forest floor. Dad, he cried, and his father's eyes bore into his, a mixture of terror and determination. Mark rushed back, pulling Jason up again, urging him to keep moving somehow. We must find a way to escape. They dashed forward, the jaws of the beast snapping closer with every heartbeat. Just as they thought they were trapped, the distant sound of a gunshot rang out, causing the pursuing shadows to falter. A man emerged from the darkness, rugged and fierce with a shotgun at the ready. Get behind me, he barked, aiming at the creatures now recoiling in the face of defiance. The arrival of this stranger was a breath of hope as they watched the grotesque creatures back away into the shadows, their eyes still glimmering with a mix of hunger and rage. Thank God you're here, Mark shouted, relief flooding his voice. We thought we were done. For woods like these have secrets, the man replied, lowering his gun slightly. These beasts are werewolves, cursed and aggressive, forced to hunt whoever passes through their territory. As the night began to stretch, they rushed to the man's cabin just beyond the brush, barricading the door behind them. You're safe for now, but you need to understand they will return, the man warned, pacing. Mark turned to Jason. We can't just wait here. We need a plan. But Jason, desperate to protect his father, shook his head fervently. What if they come back? We need to find a way to fight. The man considered them for a moment, then nodded. You're right, but this is dangerous. As dawn broke, they prepared for what was to come. They gathered makeshift weapons, sticks, rocks, cut branches, as the woods outside began to come alive with sounds of nature stirring. Determination filled Jason's heart. Night fell again, and they positioned themselves in the clearing where they had prepared their makeshift defenses. Jason took deep breaths, fear intermingling with courage as they heard the howls returning, the blend of animalistic screams sending chills down his spine. When the creatures emerged, shadows rode through the trees, thick with menace, their yellow eyes glowing under the moonlight. Mark stood tall beside Jason, an unwavering shield against despair. "Tonight we fight," Mark bellowed, raising his branch as they both faced the approaching darkness. With primal snarls, the pack lunged, teeth bared and muscles coiling for the attack. The battle erupted, a symphony of chaos as the creatures clashed against their makeshift arms. The man shouted instructions while Mark and Jason struck back, relentless. Jason felt a surge of adrenaline propelling him forward, thoughts of survival flooding his mind. They worked as a team, striking against the beasts, using the shadows to their advantage. But, as the fierce struggle heightened, an immense creature broke through the front lines, charging toward Mark. "No!" Jason shouted, and instinct took over. He lunged, creating a distraction, and with sheer will collided with the beast as it reached for his father. The creatures roared, distraction, enabling Mark to swing his weapon true and hard against the beast's ribs. A cascade of primal snarls and flesh crunched followed, but the wreckage of chaos pulled Jason into a disorienting whirl. The world around them spun, shadows merging into darkness, a melding of fear and defiance. Finally, with a final push, the woods fell silent. The remaining creatures turned tail and fled into the underbrush, melting into the night as dawn began to creep in. The three men stood, breathing heavily, adrenaline rapidly dissipating, unsure whether they were alive or dreaming. "Did we win?" Jason breathed, disbelief lingering over them. "Yes, for now," the man replied, eyes scanning the dark corners of the forest. "But the fight may never be truly over. Returning home would be bittersweet, victory intertwined with lingering fear." They drove back, through the winding roads, shadows in the trees now seeming to watch as they passed, reminding them of their brush with the primal horrors lurking in the wild. Yet through it all, Jason and Mark forged a bond tempered in fire, strengthened by survival and remembered through whispered tales. They would always carry the shadows in their hearts, vigilant against the darkness encroaching from beyond the trees. For deep within the woods, there existed a truth etched in scarier realities, where shadows danced and hunted, an eternal reminder of the thin line between man, wolf, and the primal terrors that beckon beneath the surface of the quiet night.